7:05, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. So
Okay.
we're here to discuss. Go ahead, Krista. So,
No, you can go ahead.
oh no, I was just going to say we're here to discuss policies, but I've let you and Morgan lead this meeting. So,
Okay. So what Maureen was saying is kind of the once we get through all the policies, they'll all be approved, and then we want to think about what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be keeping track after that. Because some of the pieces, especially the ones that we're going to get to tonight, have already been approved by the trustees, but we're going to look at them again as part of a review. So this entire document will have the same date initially, and then we'll have to figure out how we want to do it from there on. So we're all the way down at trustee
page 15.
Is that 15?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So last time we looked at this, we reorganized it into the with these key points and the bullet points, but we went back and looked at the two source documents. One is the general law, Massachusetts general law, and the other is the town bylaws. And a couple of things were missing from our list that we worked on last time. So those things are highlighted. Let me get rid of this so you can see the comments. I'm not sure what that one is, but one of our main things is to hire and evaluate the library director, and that was missing. So, unless we want to change this wording somehow, we may want to add that. Another one is we're supposed to make an annual report to the town, and right now Chris does that, but maybe it should be in here because it's part of the requirements, but maybe we could take a more active role in that at some point. And then maintaining the library building and property also we feel needs to be in there. And then this part, selection of trustees, this comes from both the general law and the Hubbardston bylaws. So I'm not sure if none of this was in the last time, but I think at least some of it was missing because we hadn't included the town bylaws.
We were working to include the links.
Yes, we did add the links as well. Yeah. So does that make sense? Basically, everything that's highlighted is something we should consider tonight, and we can edit it, but then we'll be done with this section.
To add on, so under policy development, it was just a matter of wording. So developing policies for transparent and effective operation. That's what we're kind of doing right now. We've already had some policies. We do right now currently have policies. Well, these are still the pre-existing policies are still, I'm assuming, effective. So word choice, maintaining, however we want to word policy development, because at this point we do have existing policies, as Krista has said, that we were working to update. So is it a continuation of developing? Is it maintaining? How do we want to word the policies, and what is the goal of policy development? So that's why policies, under developing policies for transparent and effective communication, was highlighted. It was just kind of the wording of, is it still a matter of developing it, or is it just?
To me, it feels like it works with developing and then reviewing right underneath it, because you develop and then you review to reflect changing needs.
Then we're
I think
good
me,
to
it
go.
feels like it feels okay the way it is.
Okay. This comment, I mean, this word was linked to this comment, which just had a much more detailed statement, but it doesn't match any of the other, the level of detail that we have in this policy. So I think we can probably just get rid of this unless somebody objects.
I don't object. I mean, it's nicely worded, but it doesn't jive with the other bullet points that we have that tend to be a little bit more concise.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, okay. So the personnel, we did add that heading because we couldn't figure out where it would go otherwise. So personnel, and then hire and evaluate the library director. I'm just going to add another space here. There.
Could we add another bullet point, mostly just because I hate to have a heading with one bullet point, but also could it be like something like it should be hiring and evaluating the library director, just to be consistent with the other verbiage, but then also like setting goals in collaboration with the library director?
That's good. Should it be capital? I don't know. I'm really bad about that. Should it be
you have it a capital above, so I think that's fine.
Okay. I'll just get rid of the highlighting here.
And you should just change it. It should be hiring and evaluating.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Are we okay with that?
Is there any other discussion on the things that we've added as far as the links of making the annual report, maintaining the library building and property, or the selection of library trustees? And further, is there anything that we've left out?
I was just going to say, you've got periods after most of these bullet points. So either all of them or not.
Yeah,
okay.
that will come under like formatting, that will come through.
Okay.
And
but what's your preference? I guess we should figure out what our
preference. I just think it should be the same.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be cleaning up that. I also envision, like, after we go through all the policies again, I would really love to have like trustees each take it, read it, review, but similar to how we had before, hire and evaluate, just making sure that all of the verbiage is consistent. So from hire to hiring, things like that.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure the majority of it, so like little changes like that, I'm fine with. One thing that I noticed at the top of this that Krista and I had both changed, and I'm surprised it didn't save, was there's a link for the town.
Yeah.
But you and I had changed that. I could have sworn.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do that tonight, but I just want to add a note in.
Okay.
I think the other additions you made look good.
Okay, so we can just get rid of the the highlighting here then. Okay, and then, you know, maybe we can figure out a way to put these references in where they're not like as long as the sentence. I don't know how, you know, maybe like smaller font or something, but it's kind of jarring. Okay. So
I mean, one thing you could do if you wanted to is you could just link the language.
Yeah, that's true.
Directly to the statute.
Okay.
I just a suggestion. I mean, the downside is you lose the citation, like in the text of the policy, but you'll have it if you click on the link, you know.
Yeah.
Just a question on that though. What would we have in place of the link?
You would just have making an annual report to the town, and you just have that hyperlinked.
Okay.
And it would link to the MGL Part 1, Title 12, so forth. So some of your bullet points might be hyperlinked and other ones won't be, which can also be great or not great. So
one thing that's confusing though is that all of these things are part of the law in some way. And actually, we should probably include one more document, and that would be that trustee handbook, you know, because some of this comes from there. But so I don't know, maybe the link would be here, you know, like financial oversight would be the link.
Yeah, it could be
Anyway,
that.
we'll have to look at it a little more carefully, but we'll make sure it looks a little bit, you know, neater. Okay, so are we ready to move to borrowing policy? So Chris Barbera looked this over, and she had a couple of comments, and I just put it in as a, you know, a suggestion, but I think we should, you know, accept these. I just wasn't sure if anybody had looked at it between the time, you know, before she commented, and then you would see that it was changed now. But basically, we're taking out the videos here. And then she had a comment down below. So I don't know if we want to just go through this line by line or section by section.
I'm happy to read it, and I think that we should, just because I think this would be the start of our new content for
Okay.
the borrowing policies. So Hubbardston Public Library has a wide range of materials on hand, as well as a full access to the materials available through the Central and Western Massachusetts Regional Library System, CWMARS. Your Hubbardston Library or CWMARS library card also allows you to borrow ebooks, magazines, and audiobooks through CWMARS digital catalog. Any member of the public is welcome to use the computers or materials in the library and attend library programs. To manage these materials and services effectively, the library has established specific borrowing policies. These rules ensure fair access and responsible use of materials. These encompass guidance on the following. I'm hung up on that, but
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And also this last sentence doesn't really have to do with, like, do we want to say without a library card or something? It just seems kind of stuck in there.
Do we have that elsewhere, someplace else? I feel like we probably
Probably.
do.
Okay, well, let me just highlight this and we can check and make sure, because it's an important statement, but it just seems kind of like out of place there.
Yeah, I think you're right, 'cause we're talking about borrowing and this is about computers and programs, so.
Yeah. Okay, so then these encompass guidelines on the phone.
I mean, do we need that, or can we just
Yeah.
delete that and then just start with library cards?
I think we can delete it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, whoops. This, let's see, this was like some kind of heading. Let's see. I don't know which heading. We can, if that's the wrong one, we can fix it later. Why? I don't know why this is green. Hang on a second. Okay. All right.
Library cards. Adults, teens, and school-age children who are residents of Hubbardston are invited to apply for a Hubbardston Public Library card. Parents or guardians of applicants under the age of 18 must sign the application if the minor is obtaining a card for the first time. Parents, guardians are responsible for the selection, condition, and return of items borrowed on a minor's card. Your Hubbardston Public Library card can be used at all CWMARS libraries. How to apply. Please bring a valid form of identification, which includes your photo, such as driver's license, college ID, or passport, and proof of your current local address. If your identification does not list your current address, you will also need to bring additional documentation, such as a rental agreement, bill, or a piece of mail showing your name and current address. A postcard mailed to the applicant from the library may also be used. Valid library cards. Library cards are free and expire every 2 years. Patrons will receive a reminder to verify their contact information to reinstate the card. Cards can be renewed by contacting the library by phone or in person. A valid CW Mars library card is one that has not expired, has less than $10 in fines and or fees, has no lost or billed charges, and has less than 50 current items checked out. Reporting a lost card. You can report a lost card by phone or in person. Until a card is reported lost, the card holder is responsible for all materials checked out on the card. Replacement cards cost $1. Any discussion on those items?
Just one point, you say that school-age children can apply for cars, but there's nothing in here that tells you how they would do that. They're not going to have driver's licenses or passports or whatever.
Mhm.
So I don't know how
But-
a parent has to come in and do it, I assume, with the child. I don't know.
That's a good point.
I'm assuming like with the parents or guardians must sign the application.
Where's that?
So library cards.
Okay.
So parents or guardians of applicants under the age of 18 must sign the application if the minor is obtaining
Okay.
a card for the first time.
Under how to apply,
Is-
I think the fourth line down, need to bring additional documentation. I think that's how you read it, Morgan.
If your identification does not list your current address, you will also need to bring an additional document.
Such as a rental agreement, a bill, a piece of mail showing your name and address. A postcard mailed to the applicant from the library may also be used.
Okay.
It's kind of clunky though. Is that what you're saying, Chris?
Well, I was just thinking additional documentation as you read it. I thought that's how you read it, Morgan. It sounded better.
Oh, documentation? Oh,
Additional documentation.
okay.
Maybe I did.
Just bring additional documentation.
Such as, comma.
Okay. So Alicia, does this answer your point about the?
Yeah, as long as it's clear to people who are applying.
Well, the good news is Chris or Ann are there to explain it to people
Okay.
when they come in. But I mean, we do want to be clear. I was wondering if we wanted to add a heading, who can apply or something up here, because we've got all these other.
Well, I think the very first one of adults, teens, school-age children who are residents of Hubbardston are invited to apply.
Okay, so we don't need a heading for that then.
I don't think so.
I have a couple comments. And so one is a philosophical one, just because it's been in my mind and I've been bringing it up at my library a lot, is, and we probably don't have that issue here in Hubbardston, so you can tell me to ignore it. But if somebody is homeless, they don't have any kind of document as such. And do we want to not allow a homeless person to get a library card?
That's a good one.
Great discussion.
Yeah.
I guess, there's different kinds of cards, I guess. It's like Chris can issue the e-card, but you're just talking about like if they wanted to borrow books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's just something it's been on my mind for a while because it's just there are homeless populations, and I hate to exclude them just because they don't have a permanent address. So
In the interest of time, I would recommend, I'm going to add this as like notes, that I ask that trustees kind of take consideration and thought. So going back to just a request of trustees, when we do get to the point of fine tuning this and then handing it to each of the trustees kind of as homework of, okay, this is a polished policy. We're just about ready to make a vote on it. These are, before we perhaps before / right at that point, other additional discussion. Thank you, Krista. So that when you read it, I would invite even, and that would be a discussion with the trustees, have a family member who hasn't read it, some new eyes perhaps. How does it read? Is there anything that we have neglected? And then in this time frame where we're reviewing it, if Chris B and other library staff can likewise ruminate and come back to us as far as your thoughts, and if you've had discussion with other libraries of how you would address and or handle it. One of the things that I could foresee adding in here with regards to library cards and access is a discretionary statement of assistance and or other situations being handled at the discretion of library staff and the library director. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes.
So just as initial thought, where we've had it elsewhere of on a case-by-case basis being able to handle that. I know growing up, I was actually in a very smaller rural town, and we did have somebody that would be considered, I guess, homeless. They had a car that was parked, that was their residence, that would be similar to like a parked RV, but wasn't a situation that would have been like, they would have been off-gridders. And we had actually several off-gridders that would not necessarily have like a mailing address. How would we handle those? So I think it's a very valid discussion item.
I don't know if CW Mars has any policies about that, but I mean, I'm in favor of it. I just am trying to figure out how you would word it, you know.
We might have to
pos-
go up to the ALA level for that. ALA does have some information about intellectual freedom, but I have to kind of filter through it to figure out what they've got different little subheadings for this, and I've got to figure out which one is which.
I wonder if Boston Public Library doesn't have something written in their policy. Just observing the people in the library, it appeared that some were homeless. It may have just been a judgment, but I wonder if they don't have something written. I could check into that.
Boston
Okay.
would, Worcester.
So a very, very quick
Worcester.
search of like CW Mars does still have the wording with regards to having a valid ID. Going to the ALA level of a quick search, quick being key on this, is that the ALA advocates for library policies that ensure access to all, including those experiencing homelessness. This includes promoting policies that remove barriers like permanent address requirements for library cards and reducing prohibitive fines. I think as much as we have gone fine free, I think it also is one of those discretionary, if it's somebody that is known to the area and known to be residing, as you would say, in the area versus somebody who is not known to the area and could very well be somebody that's just traveling the country. How do we determine and ascertain? And so that would be something that I would likewise just say. Wayne.
Okay, well, we've got this comment here, and we can maybe all just try to check and see how other libraries handle it or think about it. But I think it's an important point. I agree with Connie.
There were two other just small things I just had a question about. Under valid library cards, it says a valid CW Mars library card is one that whatever it says. Is that also a Hubbardston Public Library card? Like, I'm just why do we specify CW Mars as opposed to Hubbardston Public Library?
Well, some of this has to do with the shared you know, the shared privileges or, you know, some of this language came from CWMRs.
Okay.
Like it might affect, you know, whether you could check out things from another library or I don't know if it would affect Libby or not. I'm not sure. But the language did come from the CWMR's policies.
Okay.
So I don't know whether we need to include it or not. I don't know whether, I guess maybe we need to investigate that a little bit more.
It just threw me off a little bit because we talk about Hubbardston Public Library and we talk about CWMR's cards, but then we don't talk about what a valid Hubbardston Public Library card is unless it is what a CWMR's library card is.
So how does this?
Could we just say a valid library card and leave out the reference to CWMRs?
Crispy, is a valid Hubbardston Public Library card the same as a valid CWMR's library card?
As long as we maintain our contract with CWMRs, yes.
So are you saying we could just take out a valid library card? I mean, take out CWMRs?
I would perhaps, rather than taking it out, is add a bullet between the two saying a Hubbardston Public Library card is a valid CWMR's card, while with the statement Hubbardston Public Library is, help me with the wording, Crispy. And then further, so the way I read a valid CWMR's library card is one that has not expired, has less than $10 in fines or fees, has no lost billed charges, and has less than 50 items currently checked out. So then it has that bridge between library cards, a Hubbardston library card being part of the CWMR's library card while we are part of the network. And then the definition of what a valid CWMR's card is. Because,
I'm sorry, what were you suggesting?
like a bridge between the two bullets, that we add in a bullet stating that while Hubbardston Public Library is funded to the extent of and being part of CWMRs, Hubbardston Public Library is a valid, or Hubbardston Public Library card is a valid CWMR's card. Because there was a period of 2 years, Chris, that we were not accredited. Is that correct?
That would have been, we weren't certified when we lost certification. And we're getting into a kind of a gray area here because as long as we have our contract the annual contract that we sign with CWMRs every year, we're still considered part of CWMRs. So we still get access to Libby, even if we lose certification.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't want to give you hard and fast rules here. As long as we continue to sign an annual contract with CWMRs, our library card is considered a CWMR's card. Does that make sense?
So my suggestion is that we work on wording and add a bullet between the first and the what would be a third. So between library cards and between a valid CWMRs, that would state that while Hubbardston Public Library renews and has a valid contract with CWMRs, a Hubbardston library card is a valid CWMR's library card. Is that correct wording?
No, sounds good to me.
Could you just, in the second bullet point, say a valid Hubbardston Public Library and or CWMR's library card is one that?
Yeah. Or because I think these the valid, the remaining valid has to do with things, like things outside of just Hubbardston, like if you want to use other libraries,
the one thing
it
that
might come up, they might have rules about the, like how many things you can check out or how many fines you can accrue before you could, it might make it so you can't actually check something out from, say, Rutland or somewhere like that. I think that's a bad example, but so a
Yeah.
valid Hubbardston library or CW Mars library card. Is that?
So the question I have with it being read like that is, would I need a CW Mars card? Because as I understand it, my Hubbardston library card is my CW Mars card too.
Yeah. The other issue is I don't think we have specified this $10 in fines, but maybe we have. But I'm pretty sure it would, because we share the catalog, if you went to another library and you tried to check out something and you had fines over $10, you might not be able to check out items from that other library. They can tell that. Whether we would do it or not is up to us. But I think in order to use your card at other libraries, you have to maintain it as a valid card according to these criteria. I'm pretty sure that's why this is included in there, but it is confusing. So something like to you.
Something.
Could you change to valid?
Connie, continue.
I was just going to say, could you change the bullet point valid library card to valid CW Mars library card? Because further up, you say your Hubbardston Public Library card can't be used at all CW Mars libraries, so you are kind of suggesting it then.
Yeah.
So you could just have it as a bullet point, the big bullet point, say valid CW Mars library cards, and then you could just take it out of that second bullet point.
Oh, put it up here.
Yeah. Because if that's what we're talking about, might as well be in the heading as opposed to.
Yeah. And then just take it out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Okay, that's good. Oops. Okay.
And then I just had one other small thing. So do we need to have replacement cards cost $1? I mean, or is that something we could remove? I'm just thinking about barriers, for people. And is $1 really going to make that much of a difference?
This came from some things that were already written up before,
I'm just bringing stuff up for discussion.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's fine, but I don't know, is there a cost that we incur, or is it like to kind of discourage people from losing their cards? I don't know.
Another suggestion that I have is so we don't get stuck in the weeds of making sure, is this still valid or not with regards to what a valid library card is if we just take and link to, for further information, just directly to CW Mars frequently asked questions or otherwise. So where we've done it before of linking.
Okay. So do we want to take this out, the replacement card cost? I don't know, Chris, is there a reason that it was in there?
It has always been the case that when we replaced the, at least the library cards that had barcodes on them, there was $1 replacement fee. That was something that was put in back when Jane was director. So I don't have It's irrelevant to me. If you want to drop the dollar cost. My only thought is that sometimes kids lose them every other week. So, do I keep replacing them every other week, and then they find the old card, but that one doesn't work because we replaced it.
That's a good
So
point. Their account number changes, right?
yes.
We could say
What-
replacement cards may cost $1, like it could be at your discretion.
Do we actually collect the $1 when we replace?
I have
cards?
done so, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have done
Yeah.
that.
If it's policy, then
I mean, but you're the trustees. You get to determine policy.
So I think a question would be, like a fair amount of if a patron were to lose a card, allowed one free replacement a year. But if in the instance of somebody losing it like every week or every couple of months, then it's fair that they are fined. So a compromise in the middle,
that's
or
reasonable.
even library cards are free and expire every 2 years, is patrons are eligible for a replacement if needed, in the instance of it being lost within 2 years. A fine may, or a fine or a replacement beyond that would be $1 each occurrence. So I'm fine with whatever time frame, but somewhere in the middle between the two.
Probably a lot of people don't even use their cards. So, right.
Yeah.
The only other
I love-
the other thing is if they do replace the card, they have to change their CW Mars login and their Libby login, because the number will change, and then they have to put the new number in so that they can have access to their account.
And does, like, the records of their previous card, do those stay?
Yes, they
Okay.
do. So if you lose your card and you get a new one, and then you find your old card and you try to use it, it will come up as an inactive card.
Okay. We could just say there may be a charge for a replacement card or something like that. Or else, Connie, were you suggesting just take it out?
That's what I'm suggesting, but
I think it's fair to keep it within because it does add more, and for those that do repeat. But again, it's one of those to where I would feel like it should be in between the two, of not being completely wiped out.
How about one replacement card will be issued at no cost?
Any beyond.
Multiple replacements will be $1 or something like that.
Additional.
Yes, additional replacements will be $1 per replacement. $1 each.
That doesn't really address your concern though, Connie.
it's fine. It's fine. I just wanted to bring it up. So
I mean, the fact is people can
It
check
also can
out
be
books for, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
This can also be reviewed. So in the instance that we feel like something's being abused and/or I wasn't necessarily aware of how often individuals would report a lost card, but I could most definitely see, especially students or youth, reporting lost cards and just going through the motions to get a new card versus looking for the card, and that things happen. But multiple recurrences, I do see it being valid to, I would argue, to charge.
So are we okay with this for now? We could add a comment. Consider no charge. Not charging. Whoops. I don't know what happened here. Oh. Or replacement. Okay. Should we scroll down?
Borrowing library materials. Anyone wishing to borrow materials from Hubbardson Public Library will need a library card issued by the Hubbardson Public Library or another CW Mars library. Any Hubbardson Public Library card holder can borrow any material from the library without regard to age, except for museum passes, which may have an age restriction. See below. A Hubbardson Public Library card is also valid at all CW Mars public libraries, and all CW Mars public library cards are valid at Hubbardson Public Library. If the Hubbardson Public Library does not have a book or other item you need, you can use the CW Mars catalog to request the item be sent to Hubbardson Public Library for you to check out. If you can't find an item in the CW Mars catalog, you can search other libraries across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts via the Commonwealth Catalog, ComCat. Available items will be delivered to your local library for pickup. For items not available through these catalogs, see out-of-system interlibrary loan policy below and ask the librarian for help.
Okay, I think this should be with the previous bullet. I don't know if we're okay with that.
Yeah, so is that, should it be your local library for pickup or be delivered to Hubbardson Public Library for pickup?
Okay. Yeah.
Because this is a policy for our users, right?
Right. Thank you. Public.
I have a question about the first thing, any Hubbardson Public Library card holder. That sounds like any child can take out any materials. As I remember from my distant past childhood, you had to be a certain age to take out things from what was called the adult room. It was different than the children's room.
I think there's a statement, or there should be a statement in here that, it's up to the parents to determine what their kids
Okay,
can.
So,
yeah, which I think, people.
So maybe we need to add that. I thought
Yeah,
that was
personally, I don't care. I mean, my parents signed for everything, but I think there are probably people in town who would object to the kids wandering around.
On the page prior to this, with library cards, it says parents and guardians of applicants under the age of 18 must sign the application of the minor. If the minor is obtaining a library card for the first time, it goes on to say parents and guardians are responsible for the selection, the condition, and the return of items borrowed on a minor's card.
So maybe that needs to be moved down or repeated. I think it was also in the child policy that we talked about further up.
So this is where Krista and I have spent a lot of time of where do we put items. And we've spent a lot of discussion of putting things here and then moving them. And then we did find we've already had this. I'm happy with where that statement is.
I'm happy with repeating things that are really important, because it's hard to separate out. We have it categorized, but you might be looking for that in here.
It is, however, we're under one policy, which is the borrowing policy. And in the interest of conciseness, I don't think that the same statement, even if it were reworded, needs to be restated in the same borrowing policy elsewhere.
Could we just take out the word any?
right here.
No,
Yeah.
second word. Nope. The
So-
second any in the sentence. So can borrow any materials? So any how
Borrow
person
materials.
can just
Yeah.
borrow materials, and then you get that any maybe.
Yeah.
I would
it
take
is-
out the any at the beginning and just have it be Hubbardston Public Library card holders, plural.
Yeah.
And
Let
then
me-
when and if, as long as we are able as staff and or trustees and advocating for the library, if we're able to indicate to patrons where in the policies, or if there's a search option to where we can search and find and direct them to being aware that we did consciously make an effort and state that parents and guardians are responsible for the selection.
the only thing that I'm just going to paste that here for a minute, but when we're saying that nothing has an age restriction instead of except for museum passes, I think that's where it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, because when you apply for the card, that's a, you know, your parents are there, it's a one-time deal. But when the students come in outside of their classes, assuming, there's nobody with them, that they just come in and they borrow stuff. So, which they should be able to do. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't. But I think by limiting the supervision to the application of the card, that may not be as clear. Maybe I'm not explaining this very well, but
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
and it just reads like nothing has an age restriction except for the museum passes,
right.
which
Well,
which
are there other age restrictions? Are we restricting materials to patrons under a certain age? Are we making that decision?
No, and we shouldn't be making the decision. And if you ask me, I don't think their parents should be making the decision either. But I think that there probably are quite a few parents who feel they should have some sort of, you know, barrier to what their kids can take out when when the parent is not present. I don't happen to agree with them, and the trustees don't have to agree with them. But I think that's maybe how you know, somebody who felt that way might read this as, go ahead and, you know, borrow whatever you like, and then we'll look it over when we get home and make a fuss.
we could just take out the museum passes, you know.
Well,
Or
why?
And what is the point of the statement?
yeah,
I'm
so maybe the whole
confused.
thing should be taken away. Because I'm pretty sure, I don't want to search it while we're all looking. Well, I mean, I could, but I'm pretty sure we have a statement in there. Well, the one you mentioned above, we have that statement that the parents are responsible for for what their children borrow, and you know that they have to return it. So maybe it doesn't need to be in here.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I guess it does feel like I guess it could go, because further down we do put the age limit on borrowing museum passes.
And up above, we say that the parents are
Are
responsible.
responsible.
That it could go, because if anything, it invites questions. It doesn't
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
Right,
clarify.
right.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do that. I think it was in there because of the museum passes, but it just makes it more confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Are we good to go to the museum passes?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Borrowing museum passes. The Hubbardston Library offers a number of free or discounted passes to a variety of local attractions. Passes may be borrowed by users 18 and older with a valid Hubbardston or CW Mars library card in good standing. Passes are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Loan period for museum passes vary. All passes must be returned to the library during open hours. Do not put passes in the book drop. There's a note on this and clarification we should state that not all passes have to be returned. So we may want to change it to
Maybe just say do not return passes to the book drop. I don't know, has it been a problem with that, or I'm not sure why it's.
We discourage using the book drop for passes. We have found passes in books.
Okay.
So when people check them out, we just say, could you just please, if you are gonna use the book drop, put them in an envelope so that we can see that they're there, that you're not using it as a bookmark.
Yeah. Maybe just say return passes.
I would almost take the wording that you have in the note of some passes or coupons that the vendor retains, like Equitarium and Davis Farmland. And then others must be returned to the library. We request that passes returned to the library are returned during open hours. Do not put passes in the book drop.
Can we say like physical passes or tickets, or?
They're all physical.
Okay.
Could you say non-disposable passes should be returned? Or is that too weird?
Coupons don't need to be returned, but passes must be returned.
Well, some may be coupon based, like they offer you a discount.
Yeah.
Is the way I would read it. So like the other
What
passes.
if we just say passes instead of all? I don't know. Does that help?
Well, this is a silly thing to say, but anything that has a barcode has to come back.
Okay.
So if you get a Necotarian pass, there's no barcode on it. They keep it.
Passes with barcodes.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Does that solve the problem?
I like that.
Okay. Passes with okay. Oops. Is that me? Okay.
Lending limits, loan periods, and renewals. All adult and children's books and audiobooks are loaned for 21 days. Magazines, DVD films, and DVD documentaries are loaned for 7 days. DVD television series are loaned for 21 days. Museum pass loan periods vary but are typically no longer than 7 days. A maximum of 50 items may be checked per library card. Library materials.
Checked out.
Library materials may be returned at any CW Mars member library, exceptions being museum passes and or specialized equipment items in our library of things, such as the telescope, which must be returned to the original lending library during open hours. Materials that are able to be renewed will be automatically renewed for the same loan period with no action needed by the patron. An email notification will be sent with renewal status of checked out items. Patrons are responsible for replacing books that are damaged or lost. Patrons can either pay the replacement cost or provide an acceptable replacement for the damaged or lost item. Any discussion on those items?
I'm just wondering if we need to add another bullet point for the electronic things, because I think in Libby that you only get 2 weeks.
You only get 2 weeks and it's automatic. But that's really not Hubbardston Public Library per se. That's CW Mars. So I'm not sure that we want to have a policy about Libby while our patrons have access to it. It's like
we don't manage it.
We don't manage it.
But I'm just wondering if, people will say, well, this said my audiobook, I could have it for 3 weeks, but I only get it for 2 weeks. So
you could then say, I mean, here it says that you could go with physical books if you want, or physical items as opposed to e-items or.
but could we say e-books,
E-content,
e-content? People do
that'll make it shorter.
E-content. Is loaned for 14 days, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
That bullet point that starts with library materials may be returned to any CW Mars member library.
Uh-huh.
The thing that's maybe throwing me off is we say specialized equipment items in our library of things, which must be returned to the original lending library. It feels like it should be returned to our library. Like we're talking about our library.
I agree. I
Okay.
agree.
Should be returned to our library.
To Hubbardston Library. Okay. We could say most library materials may be returned to any CW Mars member library.
Mhm. And instead of being exceptions being, I would just say exceptions include.
Okay.
That reads much better.
And you may not need these, such as the telescope, if you're trying just to tighten it up a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we could just say and.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You ready to?
Are we
move
comfortable
on?
with continuing to overdue fines?
Oh, we've got the digital library separately. Maybe that's why that bullet point wasn't in there. Sorry, I'm
Overdue
skipping ahead. Overdue fines. Go ahead.
overdue fines. The Hubbardston Public Library does not charge overdue fines for the Hubbardston Library owned materials, including books and audiovisual materials. See fine-free policy. Overdue fines may be charged for books and materials owned by other libraries, museum passes, and items in our library of things, such as the telescope. Discussion on these?
Can you explain to me the difference between having the overdue fines and the fine-free policy? Aren't they saying the same? Are they saying the same thing?
This was part of the discussion of where do we put things and having things.
Yeah, I think these are kind of out of
Yes.
order. So I was going to suggest we move the digital library up above the borrowing. But this was our, sorry about the scrolling, but this was our fine-free policy.
Yeah.
So
yes.
maybe we could just merge that together. We kind of went back and forth on this, like should they be separate, should they be together? So maybe this statement could replace the overdue. I think that's what you were going to say, Morgan.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they feel very similar to me, and so.
So at this time with the discussion, we had a section we just completed of lending limits, loan periods, and renewals. We're at overdue fines, and then it goes on to CW Mars Digital Library. With the trustees' comfort level, is it possible for us just simply to take overdue fines from this section, knowing that we do have a fine-free and overdue section policy coming up, and just delete it from this section?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys are comfortable with it, if there's any wording in this that you guys are cautious about, the other thing that Krista and I have been doing is taking it, cutting it, putting it in the other policy, which if you guys want, I will do that now, just so things aren't lost. Otherwise, if you're comfortable with getting rid of it in favor of what we already have written, I will just get rid of it.
I'm fine deleting it.
Beautiful. So moving on to,
Can I just suggest we move this digital library like right under this?
where's this? What are you meaning?
Well, okay, yeah, it's just too hard to see it all in one line right now, but we might, if it's okay, we might reorder this a little bit as we're, doing our final edits.
Sure, you're just saying switch CWMR's digital library with overdue fines. Or
Yeah, just to like move it up a little bit, but I don't want to scroll too much. It's too nauseating.
Overdue fines is gone.
Well,
So
it's
now I'm
actually,
trying to figure out.
it works now.
Okay, good.
Overdue fines is gone. So it goes from lending limits, loan periods, and renewals straight to CWMR's digital library.
But like this was the statement that I added up above because I thought it needed to be in there, but it's here. So I think this really belongs with the first part of this section, but I'm not sure. So we could just keep going. Where let's see. We already did this part, right? Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I think it's right now. I see what you're saying. Good.
I'm going to say before we talk about moving things around, that we just go through the content and then we can look to see, because very similarly, yes, we have statements that have been made that are very similar and repeated.
It's right now. I think it's right now. I was just confused about the order, but I think it's fine.
So we've just finished with lending limits, loan periods, and renewals. Keeping in mind, it's 8:07 now. I have a little bit of time, but I do have a commitment, and jumping in, I need to be done by 8:30. On this singular borrowing policy, we still have the CWMR's digital library, the out-of-system interlibrary loans to go over. And then it goes, that's the end of page 19, and then it would go into what is the fine-free and overdue material policy. So I feel like that for this evening, if everybody's okay with continuing with those two sections, that we go through the CWMR's digital library, out-of-system interlibrary loans. Is that good?
Sounds great.
Okay. CWMR's digital library. The CWMR's digital catalog includes ebooks, audiobooks, and magazines for adults and children. Access to the digital catalog on a mobile device with just access the digital catalog on a mobile device with the Libby app. Excuse me. A valid CWMR's library card, barcode, and passcode must be used to borrow electronic items through the CWMR's digital catalog. Contact your local librarian to obtain your passcode. The standard lending policy for electronic materials is 2 weeks. A maximum of 10 electronic items may be checked out from CWMR's digital catalog. Holds may be placed for items with a waiting list. Patrons are encouraged to return electronic items early if finished. This allows the item to fill holds for other waiting patrons more quickly. Renewals are only allowed if there are no holds on the material. There are no fines or fees associated on e-content. Once the borrowing period ends, the content will disappear from the device. Discussion?
It's fine.
Could I suggest in the first bullet, second sentence, that we change the wording to digital catalog may be accessed on a mobile? I don't think it's a sentence. Is accessed on a mobile device, or maybe it has to be accessed on a mobile device, so it's not a may, it's a is accessed, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Second bullet point, can we say the last sentence is contact your local librarian to obtain your passcode? Can we just say, the word local is getting me.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Your Hubbardston librarian?
Could you just say contact the library
Yeah.
to obtain your
Yeah, that's
passcode?
good. That's good. Whoops. Okay.
In the third bullet point, just for consistency, we say digital library. So the lending policy for digital materials is 2 weeks.
Sorry. So is it e-content or digital materials?
Well, we use digital materials, we use e-content, and we use electronic items.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so can I just put a note in here and we'll check for that? But what do we want it to be?
Seems to me the CW Mars things I've been downloading either through Libby or through CW Mars, and it's an ebook. I think they're 21 days.
Yeah, I wonder if CW Mars lets you have it for 21, but like, because sometimes I get some stuff from Boston Public Library and they might have the only 14.
Yeah,
So that's a good point.
that's true.
Okay. Consistent wording for, oops.
Or you can say it's dependent on the source of the material.
So the lending period.
The lending period for digital material is set by the source library. I don't know how. Is set by the lending library.
Oh yeah. Should we specify what it is?
Do we have to? Because they may change for a start.
Okay.
Yeah, back when we had the pandemic, they limited the number of items you could borrow, and I think they might have limited the time, but don't quote me on that one. And Libby doesn't
I'm aware
help.
of, I was going to say, I'm aware of the 10 items. I haven't had a book that is beyond 2 weeks.
Maybe you're accessing more popular books than I do. But there's a drop-down menu when you initiate the loan. It gives you the choice of 7, 14, or 21 days, which took me a while to figure out.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. Are you saying really that it took me a while, or really that
No, 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 really that
I
I've
haven't
never
seen
seen
that
that.
feature.
Yeah.
It just
it
gives me
comes
the.
up. I think it comes up automatically as 14 days, and then you can actually click on that. Sophie's trying to join the discussion.
I'm looking and I see that, and oh my gosh, thank you. I think it defaults 14 days. Oh my gosh, you can get it for 7 days or 21 days.
Even if there's a hold, I mean, even if there's a long list.
If there's a hold, you won't get it until
I
it's
mean,
yours.
if it's your turn, but there's more people, then you still can have it.
Because you're entering that information when you're putting your hold on.
Oh.
So when you put your hold on, you get it for the term you've clicked, and then if you're polite, you return it sooner. But you do have the option of 21 days, and maybe that's not for everything they lend out. I don't know.
I love that feature. Oh my goodness, I had no idea. I'm so excited.
So do we want to call it digital content, electronic, or e-content?
Material.
Do we want to decide that right now, or?
I prefer either digital content or e-content. Electronic material, I don't know. It feels dated.
Okay, so.
You
but I'm fine with either.
I'm fine with. Yeah, I'm fine with everything. So
Mhm.
digital content, e-content, both are fine.
Okay. So we have these notes in here. We definitely have to check on some of this stuff.
Yeah. The last bullet of there are no fines or fees associated on e-content, we can change to digital materials as well.
Okay, good.
All right. Are we comfortable with moving on to the out-of-system interlibrary loans?
Yes.
Okay. Out-of-system interlibrary loans. Hubbardston Public Library collaborates with libraries throughout the Commonwealth to make materials available to patrons. If you wish to request an item that is not listed in the CW Mars catalog or Massachusetts Comcat catalog, we can search for an item outside the region. Please note the following guidelines before submitting a request. Please check the CW Mars catalog and Massachusetts Comcat catalog before requesting through interlibrary loan. Limit your request to 4 items. We were just checking to see if that should be 4 items per patron per year. Is there a guideline to per request period? Note that we cannot request high demand items, new books, or reference books. There is no charge for this service within the state, but charges for copying, loans, or postage fees may apply if items are requested from outside Mass. We cannot predict when items will arrive if they are available. This service is only available to patrons who do not currently have any lost or overdue items on their cards. Loan periods are determined by the lending library, and while renewals may be requested, they may not be granted. Interlibrary loan renewals requests must be made 3 days in advance of the item's due date. If your request can be completed within these parameters, please contact the library by phone or in person with the following information: the title of the item, the author's name, the format you are requesting, and the amount you would be willing to pay for postage if necessary. Ending the borrowing policy, we state, by understanding these borrowing policies, patrons contribute to the library's community spirit. Responsible borrowing allows everyone to enjoy the wealth of knowledge at the Hubbardston Public Library. May not be necessary, but just an ending to the policy.
So the
Chris
4
B.
items, Chris, is that?
I don't know. I've never had anybody ask for anything out of the state of Massachusetts.
Well, that's just for any.
I can remember that.
That's for anything outside
I didn't know you could do that. I think that we should add, when you say there is no charge for this service at this time, because with things that are changing, there may be.
Okay, where does that go?
This is under it's the last bullet point on page 18.
Oh, right here.
Yes, is there no charge at this time for this service, or no charge for this service at this time?
Okay. So I think this limit your request to 4 items came from a previously existing library document. But I think if we have it in here, we need to clarify it.
I think this is a hereditary or heritage legacy statement. Yes. My mind is going.
Yes, it's okay. Almost done. Okay.
I don't know if we. I mean, maybe
We can just, to save time, because I don't think we'll get it this evening, let's just think on it, have that continued note that we have there, and we have time. I'm changing the abbreviation Massachusetts to Massachusetts.
And did we actually review the overdue and fine free? I think we somehow skipped that. Where did it go?
That's the next policy, but I'm going to
Oh,
say that we're taking a break
oh,
at
okay,
this,
okay.
just given the time.
The second bullet point from the bottom
Where are you?
can, we're under out of system interlibrary loans.
Okay,
So where it says this service is only available to patrons who do not currently have any lost or overdue items on their cards. And then when it says loan periods, can that be a separate bullet point? Because they seem like two separate concepts.
Yes.
sure. Okay. I think this overdue, this needs to go before that summary statement because it's part of
And-
the borrowing policies. It needs to go before this.
You're talking about the fine-free policy.
No, this section has to go in with the borrowing
That's what I'm,
policies.
Okay.
It's not a
I'm going to
separate
say
policy.
it
It's
is a separate policy. So this is where I'm going to say we're putting a pin. I'm going to say in this because we have had like that subsection of the fine-free policy, and we can discuss where items go. The discussion this evening does not state what the eventual policy will look like, and even by determining the policy, and when we do eventually get to the point of agreeing and voting on it, it doesn't prevent us from, I'm trying to get to the point where on an annual basis we can renew it and make changes and edit. And so if verbiage changes and we don't like digital content and we want to change to e-content, we're free to do so. The placement of the fine-free, and we had merged fine-free and an overdue policy, and fine-free had shown up in a few different sections. Rather than getting into the weeds of discussing of that, I'm going to say put a pin in it of the location of it. That's something that can be discussed at a later meeting. But we haven't gotten to the point of discussing, reviewing, or saying, okay, we're done with the fine-free policy. So knowing that we ended on page 19 would be much clearer and clean. And then we can continue when we do set up the next sub policy to go over. And keeping in mind, we still have to go over the Krista and I had discussed, we're still going to go over the formatting, getting the periods and cleaning up the verbiage on it. But we have remaining to review the fine-free overdue. We have equipment use policy, collection development policy. There's the additional form which we may want to change formatting of, but from 2022 of requesting items. The program facility use policy. I think I just skipped over another one. Photography and filming policy. And then something we've addressed previously, but where to place as well is addressing policy violations. So there's still a lot of content that we still have to go over and have eyes on. And then we need to go and clean it up at some point. And then we had discussed there's additional discussion, rumination, and then eventual voting on. So there's plenty of time to say, where is this policy best fit? Does it need to be its own policy, or do we need to have this within another section? And I know that there were some wording and some bullets that appeared and we moved several times. But breaking this evening, I'm on a time constraint myself. Okay. I don't want to move any more policies tonight.
I think that's fine. We typically have kind of set the standard of we stop at 8:30 for policy meetings. So we're in line.
Yeah. And there's time to discuss on that, but I don't think it adds to trying to move. And so at our July 10th meeting, I'd like, with Tom's input, if Tom has access issue, I'm willing to invite, he's welcome to come here. I think that attending the sub-policy meetings has been difficult, and I don't know if it's a matter of digital access. But I'd like to have input from, and I feel like he has unfortunately been left out. But yeah, are all trustees on board with determining the next sub-policy committee at our July 10th meeting?
Alicia's off the hook.
I was gonna say, I'll have to abstain, you know?
I
Yeah,
think
we
that's
still have a
fine.
new trustee, so, you
Yeah.
know, maybe, I don't know how
Okay.
that works.
I think it's fine to wait until July 10th to schedule the next meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right. So at this point, it's 8:26. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second. Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Morgan
I
made the
did.
motion.
Morgan. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Yeah.
All right. So it's 8:27 and we are adjourned.